Well, I'm going to start with these two shapes. I'm trying to explain about brush sizes with shading. Like this is a huge brush. It covers way past this shield, but this is the curve I want because the curve is larger than the shield, so it has like a downside on one side, but it also makes it brighter in the middle. And I want to start with this. I'm going to actually, I think I'll just select the area here. Get half of the shield there. So now this part of the shield is going to be painted with this big brush. I think I'll just use a lighter shade of gray. Now I'm going to, this is 100%, so this should be able to work faster. There's one click that gives this a curve. Uh, Wrong button. See, right, if you can see here, I'm going to show you right here is this is the shade. Goes from bright here and shades down here, but it's not that much of a curve to make this edge really curved. Sort of like if I want to add another curve on it, then I go with a smaller brush. But I'm just going with this, and now I'm going to do invert. Select inverse. Now it's selecting the other side. And I'm going to use the brush and take caps lock off and paint this side. I locked this layer so it's not painting outside here. See, that's still transparent. So now I got two sides of the shield and it's got the raised part in the middle. Now if I wanted to add more curve to it, then I'd use a smaller brush to round off the edges on a smaller curve. Let's say like this. Now I'll just use black and a lower flow and use the center of this brush to follow this line around here. And if I do it smoothly enough, it'll look pretty good. If I don't, it might mess up. But that's what the low flow rate is all about. I just give it a little more curve. So now there's more of a curve here. And I can help strengthen that by doing undo and select the shield and do that on another layer. So if the brush is too strong, I can make it less strong using the opacity for the layer. So now it looks strong, and I'll just use this to fade it. There. Now it's a shield that's curved. Now if I want, with most curves, this is more like going from this curve down to a 45, and in order to get that curve to look right, you have to use a smaller brush or go farther outside. So I'm going to use a smaller brush and I'm going to go outside a little more. this adds a little more curve to the edge of it, because as it goes around, this is taking it from a 45-degree angle to more of a curve. And you can see how it's doing here without the shield there, because you might be confused by this curve in the middle. But this is adding to this shape. You got this curve adding to this. So I can lighten this shield up. And amplify the shading with the contrast. So now it's, you can see this ridge going down the middle where it was the highest. And you can see this is added on to that curve. See, adds more roundness to the edge. That's how you use do the shading. Now, I'm going to use this ball over here to help explain what actually does happen here. So I'm going to show you how to measure this ball. I'm going to go right here, select the line down the middle, and then select the ball. Now I'm going to copy that strip, and now I'm going to start a new file, only just to get the size off of it. It says right here that the line is 3 pixels wide, but it's 307 pixels long. It doesn't have nothing to do with the background or anything, because the background isn't included with this copy. If I copy merge, then it'd be longer. It'll show you how long my line is. Edit, copy merge, new. It's 354 pixels long. Okay. So edit, copy, new. That circle is 307 pixels long. If you divide that up, then it'll be more like 153 and a half from the center. So the half would be in the center. So if you want to think of using a brush this size, like I'll go up here to this and select a brush. Now I'm going to make the brush 307. Now you can see how big this line is. It's small in the middle. And I'm going to use this light yellow and go with 100%. This will quickly fill in the center and spread out. Now see, this don't really have this roundness to the ball, so you actually want something bigger, because this is going by actual size of the brush. But you can see where it's stronger around the edges, and this last part around the edge, this around here on the edge, that's darker because there's less filling in. So actually I'll just hide that and start a new layer and use a brush that's closer to this actual size. I think I did this before, so I'll do 496. That looks bigger. That's 394. That's closest. Now this is actually closest to the size of the ball. Now I'm going to click. And you can see the difference between this and this. This looks more like a shaded ball. This is the size curve you want. So when you want a curve size, you go by the ring that you see, not actual size. This gives you the size you want for the curve. So this looks better as a curve, like a ball, and this don't look that good as a ball. This looks better, as it has a gradual edge. So when you play around with brushes and brush sizes, you can, I'm going to select this and start another one. And like if you want to make a frisbee, then you just go around the edge. Wait a minute. Undo. Go around the edge. Now you have like a flat place in the middle and a curved edge. Of course, you can also do that and improve it with the blending. Like select feather and feather it by 30 pixels, and then select inverse to cut that off. And this is like a disc, not as much as before. Edit, step back, edit, step back, like this. But I can also do the same thing again and use less. Instead of 30 pixels, I can select inverse. Nah, wait a minute. I think this would go outside. I just want this on here. So feather, go with 15, half of that. Then select inverse, delete. So this is sort of like the frisbee effect. You got a disc, but this is still too dark. And you can fill in behind it, add a layer, go underneath and fill this layer, and then I can adjust it to where it looks right. There's a frisbee look. But basically, if you want to get to know what brush sizes brushes do, you can just do stuff like that. Like right here, I'm going to select this and fill it. Wait a minute. Don't want to fill it on that layer. I want to fill this layer. And then I'm going to use the eraser and do the same thing with the brush and use a soft brush. Now this does the same thing. It adds, it erases a softer edge. And the size of this curve that I want is sort of like, imagine this curve here. And where it curves off, this drops down towards the edge. Like right here on the side, just imagine the side view, and the top part of this circle is the height that you have, and you drop it down by that curve down towards that edge. Go from the top to the edge, and that's what you're adding or making. And edit, undo eraser, go with the lower flow. And edit, undo. I should just stay in the center here. You can take your time with this because the brush, you can see it go tap, 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 because you have to move in order for make anything to happen. Now I'm going to go with a smaller edge. Do the same thing. I may try to stay on the center. So here's like a curved edge. And to reinforce it, you might want to add some color to it, which I did. A brush size is okay, so lower the flow and just blend it in there. Get that curve smoother. And you can see the gradual blend. Just going around it. This is the curve of this. See this, the top edge is where it starts to drop off, going towards the edge where it actually is darker, because the center is the darkest. And if you keep the center on the edge would be the darkest. So yeah, from the top to the side, where the side is, that's the curve. It's like 1/4 of it gives you the curve that you're actually doing. Like if this was rotated around to where you can see that curve, it would look like that. I'll go with 100%. Actually, this is 85. So I'll do another one and show you the shape of that curve and do 85. Okay, and let's say that this shield or disc is like this. This kind of shape. So this is the shape of this from a top view, because the curve this curve at the top fades down to the side, and you have that much of a curve, which is that much right there. Of course, I could make it smoother, make it look better. It's a frisbee. And if I use this ball shape, then the ball would look, I'm going to have to start a new layer for that. Okay, let's, what was that? 394. That's what size the brush was. $3.94. Guess not. Less than 312. 302. Let's try 38. That's close. So when you're looking at this shape, the top view of the shape would be like this. That would be the top view of the shape. Hate that thing. And this right here is the front. That's what you're seeing. And you won't see. Let me get this. Swatches, history, nope, view, extras, slices. There it goes. Okay, so if I was to cut this in half for what you actually do see, I just cut through here. And as far as you know, this is the shape of this front. It's only a ball shape, a dome shape. And it's the same size as the ball. Because the brush lines was that size. So that's basically what you're doing is you pick that size brush and you use it like this. This is the shading brush. It's the same size of the curve you want. And this is sort of like a face. Over here, the shield, it's got a rounded edge. Around here, it's rounded. And right here, it's curved up towards the middle, like where the nose would be. As you can add shading and make it a face in there. I'm making the sides of the nose here. and use a lower flow. Then, in case you want to know, this is a shadow for under the lips. This is the lower lip. The darker color is the upper lip. This is under the shading of the nose. So this would be like this for the ridge. Basically, it's how that does. So that explains the curves and what size brush to use. As far as I can tell, that's what you might want to know. That's how I decide what size curve I want. I go by what size brush I need to do it with. And since this was like a large curve, I knew it had to be larger, but how much slope comes down to the side, that makes it a brush that was bigger. More like this, a little bigger. So you get this curve, and in this curve, it comes close to the bottom edge, and it doesn't go over or through the top. So that gives me that curve that I want. So if I was to select this, I can paint like a gold look for the shade, and the flow rate's too low. See, this is all on one side. See, it's shaded, but it still leaves this edge through here. It's darker, and if I wanted to add more darkness to it, I'd have to use the same size brush and go along this edge like that. So then when I have that and I want to take this part out, wait a minute. I'll select this side because this is the side I want to do. And then I come down here and unselect this empty space. Oh, apparently that didn't work. Maybe it's just the locks that's on it. minus this area. It's just that I unselected it. Didn't have any doing to it locks. Is I had to get this minus sign for removing area. So now I can do this side with it shaded by adding more shading in, and since it's close to the edge, this brush won't go that far over, so I'll have to go over here and then add this, make this side of the shield darker. And if I want to get this through here, this going smaller won't help. I just have to move the brush over so I stay away from the edge. And if I want to add more lightness to it, I just go like that, add. But this side wouldn't be light. That would be a darker side. That would show a highlight on it, which there's no highlight on the shadow side. So I can select inverse. And now this selects all that. And I can select this, remove that area, and go back up here and then add white here. Now this is the light side. So this should explain to you which brush sizes to use and what you want. Like this curve here is what I was wanting to get, so I needed a brush to match this curve right through here. It's a big curve, and I got a brush that was close to it. It's not as big, it's close, but to go for a brush as big is like you can't work on there. Have to find one that's small enough to go on the screen. Like there. That's small enough. And I go with just a little more, and I don't see it. It's not showing up on the screen. That was why I got that size. Of course, I could try 24 there and see. And 54. And that goes off. Don't see it. 44. 34. I don't see it. 24. See? That was the curve that I ended up with. But it's close. So it still has this curve towards the edge. It's just not as good to get this size curve. This curve through here. That would prove that this is like part of a circle here that's just this curved. If I was to go with the solid brush, I'd probably get something closer. Try 1054. Oh, it's not on the page. Edit. Undo. This. I don't see it. I'll do red. Edit. Undo. Go right here. Too far. Actually, I can see if it's like that. No, it's not enough anyway. See what this does. Is this the curve that it needed? Too much. So that would be just like guessing at it. And I came close. It got this curve here that I wanted. So that'll be it for now.